And now, from Pensacola, Florida, it's Within Reason with Bob Kerrigan and Bill Rankin.
Well, welcome again to Within Reason. Bob Kerrigan and
Bill Rankin. And you might say, after some absence, we are back.
We are back. And
you've been away a couple
with a
of
lot
weeks.
of, we've abandoned the vicious gossip and the rumors. We are staying on the straight and narrow.
We're going straight to gloomy conclusions.
Only facts, though. We're only going to deal with facts. No more petty criticisms of, like, the crappy little town. We are raising our game.
Really?
We are, yeah, we are.
All this has to throw all this out.
Throw it out. Whatever you had ready, throw it out. But you had a great line in our warm-up. Well, the great line.
Well,
we're all in the boat together.
I watched a little of the Democratic convention, and I got a couple of comments about.
I'm glad you watched it.
Democratic
I'm impressed that
convention.
you
A little
did.
bit of it.
Yeah. Okay.
I couldn't stand much of it. I don't think I could stand. You know, Joe Biden, and they just love him. I mean, Joe Biden, he wasn't just feeling your pain. He jumped right in there with you. I mean, he was just emoting and making crap up and just, you know, going crazy. Let me start with Joe. And Joe was really, and Barack is a hero because he fought off all the people who say, don't bail out the auto industry because it's not the right thing to do. It may fail. And by God, he stuck up for the little guy, and he came to the rescue of the little guy. No political calculations at all. No. This guy makes political calculations before he brushes his teeth.
Unlike most politicians.
Well, there aren't many.
Go ahead.
We're like a few local politicians.
Yeah.
And then he said, the Republicans wanted them to go bankrupt. And I waited for some reaction, and nobody said, Joe, GM did go bankrupt. Nobody got that. I got more comments about that.
You do. I think what he meant was that the Republicans wanted a traditional...
Right. A fair bankruptcy instead of a political one where the unions wound up with everything.
I'd like to finish my thought about that, which
was kind of rude.
It was just he jumped in a little prematurely. Sorry. I just was going to try to say that... Thank you.
Don't let me interrupt you.
The Republicans wanted just to decimate the company and to destroy General Motors. I mean, that was kind of their plan. And Obama said, no, wait just a second. Let's come up with...
Do you mind me asking you where you heard that?
Let's come up...
Hear that from anybody.
Let's come up with a creative bankruptcy type resolution to
one of those prepackaged bankruptcies.
Well, one of the things that's a little
that could be
unusual.
done without handing out $50 billion of taxpayer money.
Well, no, we have stock.
Taxpayers have
stock. Okay.
Great, but they're never going to get their money back.
Well,
they're
they got stock in the company. I mean, we have a stake in it. The taxpayers have a stake in it.
Really had some great value. The problem with General Motors was the legacy costs.
Well,
and they could have gotten rid of a lot of this stuff. You know, a lot of the unions stranglehold on them in a traditional bankruptcy. That's why Obama wanted to spend a whole lot of your money to make sure the unions came out well.
Yeah, let me ask you this question about it. You've mentioned this legacy costs several times in the past.
Yeah.
But you've failed to mention the terrible management of GM that make the decisions on the kinds of cars and the competition and the investment and the tool and die making and all of that, which was a long series of terrible decisions at management level. Not the poor guy out on the assembly line, the woman on the assembly line. So those were the people that were blamed for General Motors' problem, but it was a management problem, right?
Well, I mean, the management certainly made some mistakes. Think Pontiac Aztek, for one.
Well, yeah.
And they made him a lot of mistakes and had a lot of problems.
What was that Pontiac? What was that? The sports car, the Pontiac. What was that?
The little two-seater?
S. Yeah, started with an S, didn't it? I'll think
there were
not the Sunbeam.
Saturn came out with one of these, and Pontiac had another version.
Yeah,
one of them was the Solstice.
It was
and it's
Solstice.
kind of a nifty-looking little car. It wasn't much of a sports car. It was kind of a little look-at-me car that didn't do well.
They didn't do well with it.
Look at the Plymouth Prowler and some of the mistakes that General Motors made.
You know, well, the Plymouth Prowler was Chrysler, right?
That's Chrysler.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Saturn was a disaster.
Saturn was a disaster.
Saturn was a disaster. Then
Started off strong.
But don't you think that the largest share of fault lies with management of the companies, or do you really still blame the poor auto workers?
I think, well, I don't blame the auto workers at all. I blame Obama. I mean, Obama wanted to make sure that all these union people...
That's his constituents.
You don't blame the union people.
Those are his supporters.
You know, nobody...
Right.
If somebody hands you a raise, you don't say, oh, I don't deserve it, give it back. That never happens.
No.
You could blame people for that.
But if Romney was in charge, it would have been all pro-management and pro-investors.
It would have been a traditional bankruptcy.
And pro the spin-up, the cash guys. It wouldn't have been for the working people.
You mean the bondholders would have gotten a little bit of their money back?
Well, not only that, but I'm saying all the money people would have come out just fine, and they would have screwed the workers. And so when Obama
There's
gets
probably
in,
something to that.
He doesn't screw the management. He helps the workers.
No,
okay?
he helps the unions.
Well, the union
The
are
non-unionized workers stay pretty well screwed.
How's speaking of the unions, Chicago teachers are going on strike.
Yeah.
Because at the core of this, which is really interesting when you consider that Rahm Emanuel is the guy they're going against, okay?
Yeah.
And so he's coming out of this kind of as the management guy now, or, you know,
well, he needs to
pro-government guy. Yeah. So the dispute in Chicago, which will, I think, be national in scope, is that they want teachers to be compensated based on the results of the students they get assigned, okay, and on their test results, okay? Not an objective review of where they came from and where they finished up. It's this arbitrary standard.
Well, it can be.
So,
it's tough. You can't. What the unions want is teachers just get paid on longevity. If they just show up, don't commit felonies, even if they're mopey careerists and don't do anything, then they just get paid based on longevity. They can't be fired. That's what the unions want.
And management, management wants to take all the money they can get from the stockholders and divvy it up among themselves, as long as they don't get arrested for doing it.
Go back to teachers. So you would like to have some performance measures, and people are having a hard time figuring out what they should be.
Why don't we let the principal of the school decide?
Well, the unions don't like that.
But I'm saying the principal of the school.
That's the idea of charter schools.
Can make a decision.
The principals have a lot of discretion about hiring and firing. That's the way it ought to be.
Well, let's go to charter schools for a second, because this has been a pet peeve of mine for some time.
You don't like them?
Well, here's the problem. Jeb Bush is now peddling his charter school solution in Mississippi to those poor, unsuspecting people in Mississippi who really believe it's all about improving education. When in truth, my view is that Jeb Bush, all the Bushes, and many other Republicans can't stand the teachers at all, period, because it's a force they can't control, and they generally don't vote for the Republicans. That's what they want to do. If they can dismantle the teachers' union, dismantle the strong unions, dismantle the United Auto Workers, boy, you talk about, they're home free then. They get to take everything.
Well, there are a lot of problems in education. I mean, the unions say we just need to throw more money at it, but we spend more money per pupil than in other places. And in these big cities, like in Newark, where they spend enormous amounts of money and nobody can read, something needs to change. And I agree with you. The Republicans just want to get rid of the unions, dismantle the unions, because the unions don't vote Republican. And then they want to be able to use taxpayer money to teach creationism and stuff. They want to let fundamental religion back in schools.
Bill spent a year of his life taking a sabbatical from our law firm, some of you all know that, to teach in the public schools. And not the top selected, cream of the crop kids. He just taught the average students in the high school. And just tell us a little bit about that experience for those of our viewers who haven't heard about that before. I mean, you know firsthand what's going on in the schools as the time you were there.
In 2004 and 2005, I taught in Pensacola High School. And I was really surprised by a lot of They have a lot of very good teachers, and there's some teachers there, not just in, they have the International Baccalaureate program, which it's a strange mix because they've got all the housing projects, all these kids who come into high school with a poor preparation. You can't blame the high school for it, but they come in very poorly prepared. And then you add to that the International Baccalaureate program, which is this kind of select elite program that, and you get, that's where, you know, you get a lot of the doctors' kids and the kids who have had every advantage is mixed in with the regular population. And a lot of these teachers, not necessarily the IB teachers, wanted to be at Pensacola High because it was the kids with the fewest advantages, and they really wanted to help them. And some of them, I expected to find a bunch of mopes and careerists, and certainly there are some in any organization, but I was impressed by the teachers, impressed by how hard the job is.
Knowing that, why do you buy into the Bush generalization that we're loaded with crappy teachers because of the rotten teachers union when your own personal experience was that these are fine people, they're working hard, they're dealt terrible cards, they're dealing with kids with enormous problems. How many, 70% of the kids in this county are on free lunch?
Oh,
it just,
their percentage was something like that. Would have been a lot more if you took IB out.
But
they're poor, which means they're less likely to have books in home. They're less likely to have stable families. And one of the things I learned there, you know, you talk about single parent homes. How about no parent homes? One kid came to me and said, "You can't write me up because the only person I've got left is my aunt, and she's going to kick me out." Both of his parents were absent for some reason that we didn't get into.
Terrible thing for teachers to have to deal with. But again, back to your own personal experience, which has been mine, though I'm not taught in the school. We were in the Post-Secondary Education Planning Commission. We talk with educators all the time. I kept hearing these criticisms that come from the union haters. It's like, wait just a second. If we have a terrible teacher, just like we've talked about frivolous lawsuits, let's look at that teacher. Let's highlight what the problem is with that teacher, and then let's try to remedy that as opposed to across-the-board slap at the teachers' union, which in my view, is motivated not for 100% interest in what's best for the kids and education generally. Not motivated on that basis.
No, of course. Unions are about preserving the union and getting people more.
No, I'm saying that the criticisms of the teachers was not based upon what's in the best interest of the kids at all. Okay, that criticism criticism is aimed at the political influence of these teachers who band together. That's the biggest problem.
What is wrong with saying to parents, we're not going to determine your kid's education by the zip code? And if you pick out any high school in this town, and if you can get your kid there, they can go there.
I'm inclined to. I'm inclined to agree with that too.
Yeah, allow choice for the parents.
I think there's some common ground on a lot of these subjects, but what we've allowed to happen in our discourse is polarization. Oh, okay, I'm a Republican. I'm opposed to abortion. I don't care if the neighbor rapes your 13-year-old. I don't care. I'm opposed to abortion. You know, because I'm a Republican. So what? I mean, I believe the earth is 6,000 years old because I'm a Republican. It's like all these wackos and nuts that are expressing the view that because I'm a Republican, this is the way I think.
What's happened?
What has happened to this is crazy talk.
When the Christian right kind of got out of their insularity and started to understand, the preachers started to understand they could get great things cozying up to politicians. Then, in order to get elected as a Republican, you had to sing the tune.
We have that now with Tony Perkins, and I don't know if you know some of these personalities or not.
Is that like the Family Research Council or something?
Yes. And if that's the new Republican Party, we're kind of moving off subject, but if that's where the Republican Party is kind of finding its home now, I mean this sincerely. We need two active, dynamic political parties, at least two. But we don't need a party that is so removed from the moderation of the population and from the core of the population that it is spin off on the side. And I honestly believe the Republicans are going there. Now, maybe Romney can pull it off this time.
But look at the Democrats. Look what's happened to them. I mean, they got pushed to the other extreme on, say, abortion. apparently, and I just read some commentary, I didn't watch enough of it to come to this conclusion, it was just kind of an abortion fest. And you were for more abortions, and you'd almost expect them to kind of force women to get pregnant so they could have abortions. And you could have abortions up until the last 10 minutes and never deny anybody an abortion whatever they want, and by God, they shouldn't have to pay for it.
Who exactly expressed that view?
All of them. All of them. Ask your friend Debbie Wasserman Schultz if she isn't for any abortion, anytime, no matter what. And if you get into the 4th trimester, that's okay too.
The 4th trimester. Yeah. Well, I can tell you, I don't pick the leaders of the Democratic Party.
I know you couldn't do.
I have no.
Harry Reid and some of the stuff that's going on in Nevada.
Well, I think Harry is a gem compared to Nancy Pelosi and Debbie Washerwoman Schultz.
That's what you get. I mean, with Obama, you don't just get this intelligent hope and change charlatan. What you get is all of these hacks that come along with him. He's revived Reverend Al. Reverend Al is back in the game. Reverend Al is now, carrying some muscle in politics.
A lot, you don't like this, but a lot of what Reverend Al says and a lot of what Jesse Jackson says, they have the ring of truth, and it offends the white Republican businessmen.
They can't manage to tell nothing but lies. Some of the stuff for sure, but it's really pretty much all about them. All the anger and grievance and reparations and let's make our decision. If somebody in a hoodie gets shot, we've got to figure out his race, and then we're going to find our position. Really, that's the way they are.
You know what you remind me of? The union's letter of no confidence about John Asmar. Okay. The police.
I have no confidence in Reverend Al Sharpton.
I know, but I'm saying he's not your person. Well, listen. The point is, you express no.
Reverend Al guy? You never paid that fine.
You express no confidence in Al. We really don't care. I mean, it's like you're expressing no confidence in their leader. Let them decide that they don't have any confidence. You cannot like him.
Yeah,
but don't tell me you don't have any confidence in him.
You get people like these in positions of influence and power.
Well,
you don't get. What do you think all those Democratic delegates are doing there? Are they just all giddy and super excited about truth and justice? No, they're going to get a little something out of it. Their guy gets elected.
Everybody out there?
A lot of them. Now, here's what this is.
Every single person?
This comes from CNBC.
What, do they pass out cash at the door?
No, they can't do that.
Okay.
Not anymore. They used to.
What do you?
Because they'll get appointed and they'll have influence.
A few will. To the victor go the spoils. It's our whole system.
That's politics.
I mean, when Bush got in there, look what Bush did when he look at the people he appointed. Remember that kid that he put in charge at NASA?
Browning. Oh yeah.
No, at NASA. Yeah. Oh, I'm not talking about Browning. He was a moron. But I'm talking about the kid at NASA. Okay. He was editing the news releases so as not to offend the religious right on scientific determination. Because Bush
and all these lawyers that came out of that law school, that Falwell Law School,
Liberty,
and they were picking the U.S. attorneys.
I know.
I have never, ever defended the Bush administration.
And they loaded up the military with chaplains from so far right they were falling off the cliff.
Right.
Okay?
Terrible.
So to the victor then went the spoils of all of these.
I didn't like it then and I don't like it now.
Okay.
But let me tell you who you got. These are the delegates to the Democratic Convention. Not all of them, and they're picking out the worst ones.
Okay.
So this is CNBC, and they sent some conservative economist to the Democratic Convention to interview people. And he asked these straight questions like, well, what do you think about having a tax on excess profits? Oh, absolutely, we should have that. What do you think about outlawing profits? And this woman said, I think that's a great idea. Just outlaw profit. There shouldn't be any corporate profit. It all ought to go to the people. Thank you, Trotsky. What?
Are you reaching any conclusions based on this anecdotal illustration here?
Absolutely.
I mean, are we going to go from that to some conclusion that we can talk about, or are you really just kind of pointing this out as a little wacky?
It's thoroughly consistent with the idea expressed by Obama. At some point, you got enough money, so we're going to snatch the rest of it.
What they say about the Republican convention the last time around, that they have more black people in an NBA game than they did in the entire audience or something. What was that? There was some statement about that.
That's probably true. Oh, you know what happened, though? Yeah. Somebody watched MSNBC. And the Republicans were at pains to trot out any dark-skinned people they had. They had some Hispanic people, and they had one or two black people. They got Alan West, who I kind of liked. The Democrats despise him. But whenever they put any of those people on the screen, and they had some very effective Hispanic elected people who came up and spoke, and they spoke pretty effectively. I mean, not just not just our Senator Marco Rubio. They had some other people.
They had a couple.
Well, when they went to these people, they chatted, and only when you got the white people did they go back. They didn't want you to see any of that.
No,
you know?
No.
But yeah, the Republican Party is probably overweighted toward white people.
Why do you think that?
I think that the Republican Party would welcome a lot more black people. It would help them in a lot of ways. But the black people don't want to join the Republican Party.
I can't blame them. I mean, I can't blame them. Well, if you're a rational, clear-thinking person, that's the last party you probably want to join. But when we come back,
we have black people who are entrepreneurs, who are business owners, who are making money.
Sure.
And really ought to be in the Republican Party.
Well, we'll talk about that in just a second when we come back, because I want to ask you also why they staged the whole Republican floor to put in districts or possessions of the United States where people had no vote, but they were darker skinned, like Guam and stuff. Do you know how they did that? Oh, it was great. So when you pan the audience, look out, oh, there's some of those. Look at what nice mix we have here. Okay, man, it was pretty good staging. Well, only it was a complete fraud.
The whole thing's a big infomercial.
I'll be back in just a minute, as will Mr. Rankin, and we have more interesting things to discuss, including an update on the Great Gulf Breeze gas heist. So stay with us.